have to say, I was not expecting that when I got this Princeton, well, this PR18 recently. I got it in a trade, swapped another amp, and I'm actually pretty in awe of this amp. I have a history with Princetons, and I used to have the hand-wired Fender one, which was, it's pretty expensive. And it was nice, it was lovely. It was a blackface Princeton, the 64 hand-wired version. It recorded beautifully, but it never filled up the room, And I was always looking for something, that small package that I could carry around. And when this came along, I thought, well, I know Chris at Riff pretty well. I've got 3 of his other amps here, and I've had the Riff Ainsley Lister for a long time. I've got the Wheelhouse, which is like another sort of Fendery type thing, but a bit hotter. And then I've got a Black Hawk, which is the Vox thing, which I haven't actually introduced to the channel yet. But again, that came in a trade as well. So I knew this would be great. I just didn't know how good it would be. Let's take a closer look. But first, I want you to hear, so that was with a pedal at the beginning. That was the heavy hand side of the Duelist by Kingtone. So reasonably hot, but not massively so. This is without a pedal and completely the other end of the spectrum, really, in how it comes, well, not the other end of the spectrum, but I'll explain more in a second. This amp can be pretty sensitive as well as pretty hot. Okay, you might be hearing this amp and thinking, this is not what I expect a Princeton to sound like. There's a lot of mids here, and it is, pretty hot sounding. How is it doing this? Well, here's a few things. Whoever ordered this, it made the decision to put the black panel on here, but actually, this is the brown panel era preamp. So this is Chris's PR18 with the 63 preamp, not the 64 preamp, which would be the black panel one. So it doesn't have that more chimey, more scooped, maybe slightly warmer thing that we all know and love of the Princeton and other black panel Fender amps of that mid-60s era. This has, which I've always found odd, the earlier brown panel sort of snarling beast character, which, considering they were always looking for more headroom and the music wasn't rock and roll yet, I always found that surprising that that's what they came up with, but I love it. I mean, I recently made my own brown deluxe here, so I really do like brown amps. Now, this is the 18 watt version, so it's a bit more powerful than a normal Princeton, which is around 12 watts. And on top of that, it has a 12-inch speaker. I think they all come with a 12-inch speaker, and I always find the 10-inch speaker alone in the normal Princetons is what makes them always a little bit less exciting for me in the end. Yeah, they record really well, but in terms of the sound in the room, when you're used to bigger amps, it doesn't always give you that room-filling feeling. This cabinet looks a tiny bit bigger, perhaps. I'm not actually sure if it is, but it has a 12-watt speaker in. And I think you can mod your own Princetons, if you have a Fender one with a 12-inch. I think they're supposed to fit, but I would check that. But this one, it just does have that bigger sound. And yet, with a Princeton, I don't want necessarily, for me personally, for it to just mimic a deluxe or a bigger amp. it should have its own character, and there's something quite nice about that slightly smaller sound. But this has that, this meets in the middle. It's a slightly smaller sound. You know, the cabinet is smaller, and it doesn't. One good thing is it doesn't have quite as much low end, so it's not you know, booming in the room or anything. But it also has the 12-inch speaker, so yeah, it will take pedals better, as you heard at the beginning. Let's get a different guitar. I've got this Epiphone Explorer here. So it definitely has quite a different sound to a black panel Fender, you know, era amp. And if you've never played a brown face, you might think it's a little bit too growly. And I can totally see what you mean. So I think if I was choosing, for most people, if I was choosing a PR18, I would go for the black panel one. That's the sound you probably want from a Princeton and you're used to. I do think this brown era one, I mean, I love it. I think it's something completely different for me to have compared to the black panel type amps. And it's, I wouldn't say it's more flexible. If anything, the sound is flavored in that brown panel way, like throughout the volume, whether it's overdriving or not, but it's very distinctive, and I find that really interesting. The other thing I like a lot about what Chris has done here is if you push a normal Princeton, you get all this funny raspy sound. I don't know if it's a transformer thing or the small cabinet or what it is, like almost like a rattly sound, or it's hard, I don't know what you call it. You're pushing the whole thing quite hard, right? So you can hear that in the bass of that sound, and it's the same on this one. And I wouldn't really want to change that. I don't want it to be completely pristine. To me, this has that sort of, you know, 70s era rock thing going on that I wanted from this amp. You know, I'm not trying to say this is like the quintessential Princeton. You know, go for the black panel for that. But if you're looking for something different, a bit more rocky, then, you know, in that sort of garage band and like not classic rock, almost airing into the punky sort of side of things maybe, or not punky, but there's a sort of different type of rock, you know? Yeah, I think this works for that really well. But we still have to plug a Strat in and see what it does with the Strat thing. You know, a bit of tremolo, a bit of reverb, might turn the univibe on or a fuzz or something. Let's see how that goes. For that, I want to do a little decibel test with the Explorer again, and we'll do it on full power and then half power. Okay, just on 10 on the treble pickup. Okay, that's up to 106.5, and it's more like averaging around 104. Let's do the half power switch. Okay. feels quite a lot quieter in the room. It's peaking 3 to 4 decibels, 3.5-ish decibels lower, and that's averaging around 100 as opposed to 104-ish from what I'm looking at on here, which to me makes a huge difference because that's like double the sound. And this just feels more comfortable. Let me put that heavy hand back on. Well, I'm super impressed by the half power on here. I actually keep it on a lot. I like the way that it feels like then the amp is within its constraints, so you get a little bit less of that pushed sound. So it's a little bit sweeter and a little bit more, I think it's better for blues actually that way. You know, it's not pushing everything the whole time, so it may be a bit more dynamic. That might be the wrong word, but yeah, I think both settings are perfectly usable, which some amps that have different power settings and things, it really doesn't make much of a difference. But in this one, literally knocks off 3 to 4 decibels, which is like twice the volume. So it sounds a lot more comfortable for a lot of situations. So yeah, that is a great job on that. So right, let's hear a Strat. So this wasn't going to be a 2-part video, but I just recorded the whole Strat part of it, which was going to be the last bit of this video, and it's gone longer than I expected. And the reason for that is I can't believe how bloody good it is with a Strat. It's completely different sounding to these other guitars. Not that there's nothing bad about the way they sounded, but it just sounds like a completely different amp. So I'm actually going to release another video talking about that with the Strat, and basically that will just be one video just mainly of the sounds that it came out with, because I'm really like, yeah, you know, you get that feeling, I get that feeling, and I always, you know, get excited when I hear something great. So that video should come out pretty soon as well. In regards to everything I've talked about today, this amp is great. For a long time I've been looking for the perfect really small amp that I can carry around, and with the half power switch, which actually I think for humbuckers is probably a good thing to have on all the time. It just stops it from pushing the speaker and the cabinet from that bit too far and getting too raspy, unless that's what you want. Yeah, it's really lightweight and all of those things. And you know, I wouldn't bother with a Tone Master Fender when this is that much lighter than, well, this is a light amp, let me put it that way. Maybe not as light as a Tone Master, but incredibly light. You would not be lugging this around. You will just be, you know, it's just like nothing. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and it's showing you what a good amp this is. You know, I didn't buy this directly from Chris. I've got it secondhand in a trade. So, you know, it's I'm not doing this for Rift. I'm just love to show off great gear, and I think this, if you're looking for a Princeton or a small amp of any kind, you don't want a black panel sound, then go for the brown panel. It's really great for more rocky things and punky things and stuff. But I could guarantee the black panel version of this will be magical in terms of that more chimey, glassy black panel thing. So tune in for the Strat section of this video, part 2, because I tell you, it's phenomenal sounding in my opinion. Anyway, cheers.